Thank you very much. Really happy to be here. It's super fun that we were able to finally have this in person. And I want to tell you a little bit about a problem that I keep hearing from companies and product people and product leaders. They all want to be product-led. They all want to do discovery. They all want to modernize the way they build products. And it turns out it's not so easy. There's some culture, there's some resistance. So today I want to talk about what I consider the only tool we have in our hands to actually move the organization. Maybe it's not the only, but it's the most important tool. And to do this, I will show you an example, a real-life example of what we usually call prioritization, choosing an idea. And I actually want you guys to put yourself in the shoes of the product manager in this story. So imagine you're working as a product manager in a company that sells a platform for small business owners to talk to their own customers. So, you know, answer common questions, send invoices, etc. And the North Star metric of this company is the number of interactions that happen between the small business owner and their customer. The more, the better. And looking at the number and the trend, it's pretty clear things are not so good. It's not growing very fast. And from talking to customers, it's obvious they're not finding enough value in the product. And actually, quite a few of them are churning. So you as a product manager really need to think hard, how do we create more value? How do we bring these people back to the product again and again and having it enjoyed? And there are two ideas on the table, two big ideas. One is a dashboard, which is essentially an analytics tool for this business owner to see what are the common questions, what are the trends, who's asking what, at what times, etc. You think it's a good idea. You talk to some customers who actually said, I'm interested in this. Maybe not an awful lot, maybe 3, but at least they said that. But your team and your managers are not super excited. They're like, most of our customers are not very technical. They don't have enough traffic. This is only a power user feature, so it will not have a lot of impact on our North Star metric. The other feature, on the other hand, enjoys a lot of popularity inside the company. It's the chatbot. It's supposed to automate the repetitive communication, take it off the plate of the small business owner, and the chatbot will intelligently answer some of the questions. This is a feature that everyone loves. I mean, you like it, your team, your engineers are just aching to build this machine learning model, this cool feature. And your managers, they're super bullish on this too. They just stop you in the hallway and they ask you, when are we launching the chatbot? That's the discussion. All right, so here's my question to you. You guys are the product manager. I'm giving you 3 options and we're going to do a vote right now. Option number 1 is to build a dashboard, go all in on it. Option number 2 is to build a chatbot. And option number 3 is to say, I'm not sure. All right? Ready? Option number 1, who's willing to build a dashboard? Show of hands. Only a few. I see. There were like 3 hands and then it became 2. All right. Option number 2, who's willing to build a chatbot? Wow, it's also very little. Basically the same number of people. And who's not sure? This is the least determined group of product managers I ever met. First off, there's a question, is it even possible for a product manager to say the words, I'm not sure, which we need to discuss. But I think you're right, honestly, and forgive me, the other people who voted differently. I think not sure is the right answer in this case. And why is that? Because in all the story I gave you, there was only one bit of evidence. Anyone noticed it? 3 customers actually said they're in support of one of the ideas. That's the only evidence we have. That's nearly not enough to decide on any of these ideas. It's too early. So let's go and discover. And by the way, in my experience over the years, most of my career, I would have launched the chatbot. Why is that? Because it's hard to go against the consensus, your managers, your team, etc. But let's say that this time you want to be a little bit more analytical. And you're using I-scores. I assume you all know them. for every idea in your idea bank, you assign 3 attributes: impact, confidence, and ease. I will explain all 3. Each one is in the range of 0 to 10. You multiply the number and you get an I score. It's very simple. And we'll do also this. We'll do discovery and delivery. And what I mean by that is we have any of idea in our hand. Instead of building the whole thing and launching and iterating and all this good stuff, we will do this. We will build it around learning. So we will do this intermediate milestones that are about learning. And actually, I suggest that in each one of those, when we learn something, we will rescore the idea with ICE. We will do this together, don't worry. I didn't find a good word to describe these short projects that lead to this learning, so I call them steps, simply because I don't like the word experiments that much. But it's kind of like what the industry calls experiments or build, measure, learn loops. So step number 1 is just ICE analysis. It could be just the PM alone in the room, or it could be the PM plus the development lead, the UX designer, the leads of the team. All right? Because this is a team exercise, basically. So we need to assign impact, confidence, and ease for the dashboard and the chatbot. Let's start with impact. Impact tries to answer the question, if this idea is successful, it's kind of an optimistic, reasonable best case scenario, how much will it positively impact the key metric? What's the key metric? In this case, the team prefers to focus on the North Star metric, number of interactions between the customer and their own customer. And they also created this mapping table to say, you know, if it's 15 to 20%, that's huge impact, we'll give it a 9. If it's between 1 and 5.5%, it's a 3. Why these numbers? That's what this team found over the years that they're capable of generating. In your case, you might want to do something else. Maybe it's too granular, just use t-shirt sizes, but just give a number for each t-shirt size, you know, medium, large, small, in the range of 0 to 10, and be consistent between ideas. Ease is trying to answer the question, how easy is it going to be to implement this idea? And we're talking about, usually it's like the opposite of person weeks, it's the opposite of effort. And we're talking about building the whole thing without testing it. If we went all in right now and started building it, how long will it take us to launch it production level, all right? So it's again a guesstimate, and again there's a mapping table. You can use different numbers. But for this team, if it takes 2 weeks to build the whole thing, it's a 9. If it's very easy. If it's 17 to 25 weeks, it's a 2. It's not easy. For another team, it might be something completely different. And again, you can use t-shirt sizes. So using these tables, this is what we came up with. The dashboard, we guess it's impact 4. It's going to impact some customers, but not everyone. The chatbot, much higher impact, and 8. Ease for the chatbot, for the dashboard is 4. It's not a very hard feature to build, but also not super easy, kind of middle of the road. And the chatbot, much harder to build, so it's a 2. Completely guesswork based on what we feel. Now comes confidence. And the problem with impact and ease is that these are guesses. And guesses can be really wrong. So we need to ask ourselves to balance how sure we are about the guesses. And especially about impact. Why impact? Because sometimes we think something will be impact of 8, and it turns out to be impact of -3. Really. The most positive, most promising idea turns out to be terrible, and vice versa. So there's only one way to answer this question, which is to look at evidence. And evidence is the key star of this talk. Not ICE, not the tool I will show you in a second. Evidence. Super important. So we need to ask ourselves, what evidence do we have in support of this impact? And I created this tool, very colorful, very noisy, which I call the confidence meter. And it basically helps you map from the evidence you have to a number in the range of 0 to 10. It works a little bit like a thermometer. It goes from very low confidence, which is this blue area, all the way to high confidence, which is the red area. And in the blue area, it's mostly about opinions. I'm sorry. If it's your own self-conviction, you think it's a good idea, that gives you 0.01 out of 10. Why is that? Because every bad idea that ever was created, someone thought it was good. And it doesn't matter if you create a nice, shiny pitch deck. That doesn't give you a lot more confidence. It also doesn't matter so much if it aligns with some theme, the vision and strategy of your company, or some buzzword in the industry right now, the metaverse or Web3. There are thousands and thousands, millions of bad ideas being implemented right now based on these themes. So this doesn't give you a lot of confidence either. Other people's opinions, which basically means internal reviews, or sometimes you even review with an external expert, it's a tougher test. It's still opinions, but these people can help you find flaws in your idea that you didn't think about before. So it's a slightly harder test. Still, there's a lot of research to show that groups of people are not necessarily better at detecting good ideas than individuals, and none of your colleagues have a crystal ball. They don't know either. Then there are estimates and plans. So this is something you do on paper, you do a little business model, you do a little analysis, and sometimes ideas die just at this level. Just on paper, you can see that this idea is not going to be very good. So slightly harder test there. And then we start going into data. And initially, it's anecdotal data. It's just a few data points in your logs, or a couple of customers told you this, or one competitor launched the same feature. Did you ever launch a feature because one competitor had it and everyone thought it was a good idea? How well did this work for you? For me, it always failed. So this is still low confidence. And then moving into higher confidence is market data, things like surveys, things like deep competitive analysis, and fake door tests. These are sources of more data, still kind of medium-low confidence. And to really gain medium and high confidence, we need to test the idea. Build a version of it and test it. There are various types of tests. Some are more rigorous, some are less. And eventually, we can go into high confidence by partially launching the idea and actually tracking it through the launch and afterwards. And only then can you be fully confident that you had a good idea. You can give yourself even a little badge if that was the case. So to make things easier, this tool is also available as a spreadsheet. Basically, you see here on the left the different categories of evidence and with their weights. Notice that the scale is logarithmic. So an A/B test is about 1,000 times more important than opinions. That's just the way I like things to be. And what you need to do is go into this green column and just enter what evidence you have. You just put in a 1 or 0 or a 5 there, how many indications you have. This is a free tool. You can download it from my site. No issue. You just need to subscribe. So let's do this for this tool. So for the dashboard, what do we have going on? We have two things only. We have self-conviction, and if you look at the other things, and I'm sorry if this is very small and hard to see, pitch deck, we didn't do this time. Thematic support, there's no theme around, dashboards. Other people's opinion, no. Your teammates and your managers don't think it's a good idea. Estimated plans, we haven't done yet. But we have anecdotal evidence. A few customers actually said, and if you look in the small print, there is 1 to 3 interested customers as anecdotal evidence. So the tool sums up the numbers for you, and we get to 0.61, which we can plug into the idea bank, and we get 9.8. Let's do the same for the chatbot. Chatbot has more going for it. You think it's a good idea. There's thematic support around chatbot. Well, there was when I wrote this example a few years back. Now it's kind of faded away, which just shows you how unreliable themes are. And your teammates and colleagues thinks it's a great idea, so we give it a 1 there. And yet, still, we get 0.16, which is a much lower confidence. Obviously, the tool prefers the opinions of the people that are outside the building. It's just the way it works. And now we have two numbers, 9.8 and 2.6. And the tool obviously is telling us, listen, this idea is better than the other. What should we do? Should we launch it? No. If you look, I added these labels. And obviously, the chatbot is right now in low confidence, and the dashboard is in low confidence, and the chatbot is in very low confidence. And I put them intentionally there, which just means unless this is a very minor change, like some design change with very little risk, we shouldn't be launching it with this level of confidence. These are both big ideas. They're risky. They can mess up a lot of stuff. So that's not enough. We need to keep testing. So let's go to step number 2, which is just a deeper assessment. So the same people, you and your other leads, you go deeper, you create a little model, maybe on paper, how many people will see, how many will be impacted, how long is this project going to take, feasibility assessment, and you regroup. And based on your analysis on paper, the dashboard is a little bit lower in impact. It's a 3 instead of a 4. Nothing changes about its ease. The chatbot is still an 8, still a big high impact feature, but your teammates come back, all smiles and say, good news, it's going to be easier to build than you thought. If you're an experienced product manager, you might take this with some caution, this good news. But that's it, you put it in there, and now confidence. So we get a boost in estimates and plans. So both ideas kind of passed this test. We have now more confidence about the impact after we did estimates and plans, all right? Still not enough confidence, so let's keep going. And these are the numbers right now. And you can notice that now the two I-scores are neck and neck. It's 10.9 versus 11, which is basically the same. This decimal point means nothing. So the tool is just telling us we cannot tell them apart, and we keep going with both ideas in this story. The next step is a survey. So we just sent to a few hundreds of our customers a question, which of the following features will most help you in your work? Pick one. Some people will object to this question, and for good reasons, but this kind of tests the value proposition. Just hearing the value proposition of the two features, which one resonates with them a bit more. So we send them 5 different features, and we mention also the chatbot and dashboard, but not by name, but the key benefits. So we're saying seeing statistics and trends of how my clients engage with the service, and a service that will automatically and intelligently respond to clients' common questions and requests. And the results come very fast, usually in these surveys, and the chatbot is the number 1 by far. The dashboard came as a number 3, but it's very close to the number 2, so maybe if the survey ran longer, it might have been a number 2. What does this do for confidence? It doesn't change anything about our impact and ease assessment, but for the chatbot, we give a full boost here in market data. You see, it includes their surveys. For the dashboard, however, we say, yeah, we think it's impact of 3, but we would have expected this to be stronger in the survey. The survey didn't completely give us full confidence. It's a 3, so we're just boosting it by 0.5 this time, right? So not a full confidence boost. And now you can see the numbers in the I-score. It's 35 versus 16.9. So now the tool has actually changed its mind, and it's telling us you should go with the chatbot. Maybe your colleagues were actually right. Question to you guys again. What should we do? Should we basically launch now the dashboard, the chatbot, or you're not sure? Raise your hand. Sorry, the dashboard. Who's willing to launch the dashboard now? Absolutely no one. All right. Chatbot? Few more people. All right. The survey has helped convince you. Not sure. Still, most people are not sure. I agree, because surveys are not reliable. They don't give us high confidence. They give us medium-low confidence. We can bias the results in in many different ways. We can bias the sample. They may not answer the question, not understand the question. They may not answer truthfully just because they don't know how to predict their future behavior. So we shouldn't read too much into surveys. Let's go on and test. And the next step is a usability test. We bring in 12 people to kind of use a prototype of both things. It's completely fake. It just gives them the user experience. In the back of the chatbot, for example, there's a human actually simulating the chatbot. But we learned something very interesting. They love both features very much. much more, they love the dashboard a lot more than we expected, even those people who don't get a lot of traffic, and they can explain to us why. And the chatbot is a big winner. So we bump the impact of both. However, with the chatbot, we see some usability problems. Training it, using it is a bit harder for them, so we reduce the ease. And for the chatbot, they also raise some risks. They say, I'm worried I will change the opening time and the chatbot will not know about this. I'm worried that it will not answer the right answers and insult my customers. So we're seeing a lot of risk we didn't think about. So for confidence, we boost the confidence of the dashboard with a full 1 here in user customer evidence. But for the chatbot, in this case, we're just giving a 0.5 because we think the combination of the risks may mean that it's not a full 9. It's actually, it may be lower. At this point, you have enough confidence with the dashboard to launch it because it's not a super risky feature. It's just a little expensive, but you reach a level of confidence that normally you could say, OK, let's go to delivery now. With the chatbot, I will test more. But in this case, just to make the story more interesting, the team decides to go on and test both. And the last test is what I call an MVP, longitudinal test. I'll explain. It's basically we're building a version of both features that we can give to users to use unattended for 2 weeks. So it's just the core functionality, not fully polished, not scalable, not even fully debugged. Maybe there are minor bugs, but people can use them. And in the first survey that we did, we also asked people, are you willing to test your favorite feature? And we sent to 200 of the people who said yes to the dashboard. And out of the 200, 160 started using it. And then we're monitoring usage. And we're seeing that quite a few people keep using it. At the end of the 2 weeks, 130 are still using. And we're sending them surveys. And we're seeing their level of satisfaction is actually growing from day to day. And they're actually building workflows around this thing. And actually, when we're taking it away from them at the end of the 2 weeks, they're very disappointed. This is as good a result as you can imagine for this type of test. With a chatbot, very different result. Sharp drop-off. A lot of people actually don't keep using it. Only 25 people kept using the chatbot at the end of the 2 weeks. And from the surveys and the qualitative feedback, we gather that people are very confused about this feature. They don't like it so much. Their customers don't like it. It makes them work harder. You could argue that's because of the MVP we built was not perfect, and maybe we should have launched another MVP, and sometimes you do that. But in this case, the team realizes that building a really good version of this thing will take an enormous amount of research and development and improvement in usability. We just don't know how to build this idea. So here is the results. The dashboard was bumped to an 8 because it's such a success. And now because we built it to the MVP level, it's a 5. It's even easier to build than before. The chatbot, we decreased the impact to 0.5. We understand only this 25 out of 200 people will actually like it, and we don't know how to build it very well, and it's going to be expensive. And now we have high confidence for both of these, because we got a boost in the test results, so we're pretty sure that 8 and 0.5 are the right impact. And you can see from the I-scores, it's pretty clear who is the winner. And most of your executives and your stakeholders would agree. When you show them evidence like this, the discussion becomes much clearer what we need to launch. It's less about opinions and what the customer asks. It's about the evidence. So what happened here is a few interesting things. We tested 2 ideas, but obviously you don't have to use this specific test for all ideas. This was just for the story. And most ideas will either fail much earlier. You don't need to go through these 5 expensive tests. I mean, only the last ones were expensive, but you don't have to go that long to realize you can park some ideas and move on. And you can also sometimes launch ideas quicker if they're less risky or less expensive. So that's good to know. By running through more ideas, we're actually improving the chances of finding the good ones. And I have to tell you, the ratio of good ideas to bad ones is anything between 1 in 3 good ideas to bad ideas to 1 in 10, which is probably more likely what's happening in your companies right now. I'm sorry to say that. These are the statistics. So by running through more ideas, we're improving the odds of finding these good ones. So this is the tool, evidence. With evidence, you can change the culture. With evidence, you can force this kind of product-led, discovery-focused change in your organization. That is for me. Thank you very much. If you're interested in learning more, I'm sorry for the marketing page, but sign up to my newsletter and you'll get an email from me automatically with a link both to the template and to articles and to a few ebooks that describe everything I just told you about. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and you should definitely register to this one, so please take pictures. The first question is regarding the kind of topics we prioritize through ICE. Question from Artus in the room is, ICE prioritizes ideas, but how do you prioritize problems?
Prioritizing problems, that's a good question. So first off, we need to decide what problems mean. Usually, historically, the word problem meant user problems. Like we find some sort of need that is not very well served, and then we go ahead and approach this. But the word opportunities or problems can be also company problems. Like Apple changed their, their laws, and they're about to kick out our app in 3 months unless we change it. That's a problem too. I think that all of this needs to go into a different place. This doesn't go into the ideas, this goes into the goals. Like every 3 months, we need to sit and ask ourselves, what are we trying to achieve? And this is the good place to surface those problems and say, listen, we have these challenges, we have these opportunities, we found this new market segment that we might want to go into, and create a strategy around this. How to prioritize problems? I'm not sure that anyone actually figured this out, to be honest. You need to do a bit of analysis, you need to do user research, you need to do data research, all these good tools, generative research, but I'm not sure I have a perfect tool for you for prioritization of problems.
Thank you for your answer. Next one, it's 2 questions, but I'll gather them. It's regarding the RICE versus ICE,
yeah.
And does the impact encapsulate the reach?
All right, that's the classic question when I give this talk. So there's RICE, which includes reach, impact, confidence, and it's very popular. It was invented, I think, by Intercom, and I think it's popular because reach kind of makes it easier to calculate impact. Impact is this very hard to calculate thing. And in my workshops, we practice various ways to estimate impact. It's always a guess, to be honest. I personally don't use RICE because I think it's incorporated inside the I, but I totally understand why some companies, especially consumer-based companies or B2C, prefer to use RICE.
And last but not least, moving to MVP can be really costly. How do you increase the confidence level before moving to an MVP development?
All right, great. So the question was, how do we increase the confidence level? So I didn't include this in this talk, but I mapped out a series of methodologies to validate ideas. So jumping from a survey to an MVP, it's true. In this case, it's a pretty big jump. So at the level of the survey, you have other things. You have fake door tests. You have customer interviews, in-depth customer interviews. And another thing, oh, sorry, we did actually have a usability test in the middle, which is a bit cheaper. Yep. So all of these early tests, and I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my mind the full list, but all the early tests are faking the product and just showing users a version of it without building it. And using multiple of those can give you higher levels of confidence because you're willing to test again and again. And if you saw in the tool, there was a column you could put there, instead of 1, 2 indications. Both the usability test succeeded and customer interviews. So you can give yourself a 2 for that, and then you'll have a little bit more confidence.
Thank you very much for your answers. Once again, for your great talk. Please, big round of applause for Itamar.
Thank you.